Hello, everyone. Wanted to send out a message to everyone regarding what's going on here in this crazy world we live in. Um, I chose to do this through YouTube so that I could do it in a way that maybe everyone could see it. I know not everyone has Facebook, so we'll use Facebook as an outlet to get it out there, but I'm going to ask that you would share this. You can click on the link as you're watching this on YouTube and allow you to share it. And you can share it different ways, but share it with other church members, especially those that aren't on Facebook, because I want to make sure everyone knows what's happening. A lot has went on, and I want to kind of give you a rundown where we're at, because I know Sunday night, I was ready to leave here and be back Sunday as normal, but some things have changed, and so I want to share that with you. I guess first, how did we get where we're at? On Sunday afternoon, we met together as a leadership team, and so when I say leadership team, that's our deacons and our ministers, and what we discussed was a strategy to continue Sunday worship. That was the real goal. Obviously, there's other things that's important, but it starts with worship, and I felt like we had a really good plan, when we left there, and was hoping that nothing major would change. As soon as I shared the message Sunday night, I haven't even got home, and the CDC announces that their new guidelines for no one greater than 50 should be meeting, and so I knew that was going to be a hurdle. So I spent much of the night, Sunday night, reading through that CDC. I read it over and over and over, and it was a little bit misleading, I felt like, in what it was actually saying, how people were interpreting. So even when I finally fell asleep Sunday night, I felt like, we can still do this. Then on Monday, the president spoke. I think his speech was originally supposed to be around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and that got pushed out to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we waited to really share anything else. And then once he came out and spoke and talked about we needed to try to keep gatherings less than 10, obviously that's a big statement for the President of the United States to make. What I appreciated about it was this was a 15-day plan to try to keep the virus from spreading. And so, I appreciated the clarity. I know clarity has been a big deal. And, it's hard to be clear about something I don't think anyone really truly understands. And so, I talked with folks on our team. We continued to work throughout the day on how we should proceed. And then so that would have been last night. Last night I sent out to them a recommendation how we proceed. So everything that we had shared on Sunday night, as well as I put out on Facebook last night, all of that's still in play. Basically, to sum it all up, the building is on lockdown until the Monday after Easter. That's the best way to kind of sum that up. All of that obviously still is in play. But we are going to move this Sunday and next Sunday, as of now, to online service only. And so I wanted to talk about what that means, how that works. That will be a 10 a.m. worship, just like our normal worship time. The only people that will be here for that will be our ministers and their families, if they want to come, and a praise team, if we have a praise team that feels comfortable coming, and then obviously a media team. So the doors will be locked. It'll just be us in here. It'll be a very small group working to basically put together a Sunday morning worship service. It's actually, it's hard to call it church because you're not here. But we live in a day and age where we do have the access to communicate to you, and so we want to do that. I don't think I have to express to everyone how much I don't like any of this. I mean, this is not what I want. But here we are. I guess is the best way to say it. Here we are. Basically with the president making his statements, the CDC guidelines, one of the things that really has been weighing on me is what would make us the best neighbors in the community, what would honor God, and also Romans 13, respecting our authorities. And so I don't see this as a situation where the government is telling us we can't have church because we're Christian. I think this is a public health situation. And so I think Romans 13 really applies here, and that's kind of where my heart is at. And you know what? If I've made a mistake, then, as always, I will deal with that. The Lord will deal with me on that. But I feel peaceful about it, feel confident about it, but I don't like any of it. So the online service, basically, like I said, just be, the minister team here, priest team, media team, and that will be through Facebook. The way Facebook works, it's always live, but it stays on there forever. And then also we have our website, labconline.org. You have to watch it live if you watch it through that outlet. So that's 10 a.m. is when it'll be on there, and then when it ends, it goes off of there. And we need your help to make this work. We really ask that you guys will tune in. I think most people, if you're watching this, you probably have the ability to watch the worship service. We do have folks in our congregation that don't, and so we're trying to work a way to get to them the best that we possibly can. What I would suggest is that if there are people in the church that are in your normal circle that they're not necessarily internet users or real friendly with that type of technology, if they're constantly in your circle, they should be safe to be in your house. So maybe that would be an ideal that you bring them over and you watch the service together, and it kind of create your own little community there, your own little Sunday worship, Sunday school type thing there. Another thing we want to encourage you to do is take photos. Listen, this is a historic event. This is major event. So we want you to take photos of your worship, even if it's just you in your family, whether your family's big or small, or whoever, or if it's your neighbor or whoever it is. Go and put that on our Facebook page, or put that on our Twitter handle, or you can even message it to one of us, and we'll put it on there. That'd be very encouraging to me personally, but also it gives a level of accountability. One of the things about corporate worship is that we see who is there, and we talk to who is there, and there's that sense of community, and accountability is with that. So I think this is important during this time. I think accountability is a really, really big deal, and so we hope that you would be a part of that. What have we been doing? I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been doing. We've been working, I can assure you that. And right now, mainly, we've been working on communication. I am so thankful for our leadership team. That meeting that we had Sunday was one of the most encouraging things I've ever been a part of. We're dealing with, a pandemic, but yet I'm in this group with men, and I walked out of that room feeling so confident, so encouraged that we're going to make the right decisions. And I think that is a testimony to you all. I mean, I've got messages, Pastor, I'm praying for you. Man, it's just awesome. It's so cool. And I really know that we've been prayed for, and you guys just keep praying. And so I'm very thankful for that. So we've been working on communication. It's been a really, really big deal, trying to get on the same page. I want to make sure all of our leadership team understands the same message, because you're going to have questions, and we want to be able to answer those questions. And so that's really kind of one of the big things we've been working on. But also another situation come up. On Sunday afternoon, I was aware that there was a meeting that was taking place with our school officials. I'm sure several of you were aware of that. And one of the concerns that I had, as well as several of our members had, was when school lets out, especially something unplanned as this, how will kids eat? If you've lived in Newport long enough, you are fully aware that there is an issue in Cott County with kids eating. We may not live in a third world, but we have kids in homes that really, really struggle. And so that was a very important thing for us to talk about. Fortunately, the school systems are on this. They've been working on this, and they're working on their plans as well. But that kind of created a dialogue with myself, First Baptist through Dr. Rich, and Crossroads with Pastor Rick Clevenger. And so we began that dialogue. Well, what we found out is that Feed My Sheep, which is, really our only soup kitchen in Newport, was going to close its doors during this time. They felt that they needed to close, and so what that means is that those who are homeless, or those who live in a poverty situation and don't have access to food or just some daily needs and that sort of thing, really there was nothing for them. So we have been working with in Powdercock County and to really try to help fill that void. Can't say enough for Susan Clevenger. She has just spearheaded this and just kind of told us really what we need to do. I know Brother Edwin today has been working with her, as well as Michelle has been working with her, and so we've worked with them in regards to finances as well as how we can help. And this is going to go on for probably a while, and so it's an opportunity for some of you all to serve. We are trying to be very careful of that. We don't want to send a whole lot of people to the scene at once. Obviously, that kind of goes against what the CDC would want us to do. And we've also worked with the health department on this to make sure that we're in the right boundaries. And so I shouldn't say we. It's really been Susan and Empower. They have just really, really done a great job with this. And so so that's some things that's been happening, and we're continuing to work. And hopefully here in a couple of days, my mind and my attention, as well as the rest of our ministers, will start turning towards Sunday, and that's really going to be our focus in preparing for that. There's something else I just want to say. Has nothing to do with church, but I've lived in Newport now for 20-something years, 98, whenever that would be, and the school board Sunday met together. You had Cock County school board and school leaders and officials and director of schools. The Newport Grammar did the same. They came together and they had a unified voice on Sunday for our community. That's awesome. I mean, this is exactly what you need during these types of situations. A unified voice that came out on the same page. That was just a huge jump to the week as far as I'm concerned. And we talk about a lot of things going on in our country today, but really not enough can be said about local leadership. And so if you know people on the school boards or the director of the schools and all that sort of stuff, send them a text message and say thank you. Thank you for what you did. Another thing that I got to say, and of course, Lori is a school teacher, so I kind of can see this, but we have a lot of school teachers in our church as well. Man, they have worked so hard in the last 48 hours. Here's the thing. No one really knows what's going on. No one knows how long we're going to be in this situation. But the amount of effort and energy in the last 48 hours by so many people is so encouraging. And they have worked so hard. And these schools getting packed lunches and food to take home and schoolwork and all that sort of stuff. That's just been awesome. So thank them as well. Make sure you send a message to your kid's school teacher or just a friend that that's a teacher or whatever, and really show them that you appreciate them. Our healthcare workers, man, I mean, golly, man, you got to pray for them right now. So thankful for them. Several of those are in our church. I'm so thankful to have the ones that we have. Obviously we have the Smoky Mountain connection, so if there's anything that we need to understand from that level, we got that, as well as the health department connection that we have, and then the local hospital. And so we're very, very blessed to have that information coming in. And any of you all that work in that field and you think maybe Randy doesn't know this, hey, tell me, okay? You go ahead and send me the message or whatever. I want to know. And so that's really, really cool. Something else I got to share with you all is, what is happening at Options Pregnancy Center and in Powdercock County right now. I talked with Wendy briefly Sunday afternoon. She was beginning to work on a statement to put out about how options would be managed during this time, and my only message to her was, this is the time for Options and Empower to shine. This is frontline stuff. This is frontline ministry. We don't know how big of an event this is. And we maybe, I guess history will tell that. But this is it. This is the time to shine. This is not the time for the church to run. This is the time to shine. And so I am so excited. Now, here's the thing you need to know, what God did. God, in his goodness, in his sovereignty, in his providence, he had that pregnancy center absolutely stocked. I mean, tons of baby wipes, tons of diapers. While people are going crazy out here buying everything in the world, including diapers, guess who's got a ton of diapers? They had them. And the reason they had them is because your baby bottles. It's because of the money that each church, so many churches, huge partnership that we have with local churches, cross-denominational. God built that up for this moment. And that, man, I hope you're smiling right now. You need to be smiling. I mean, it's awesome. It's so cool. And so that's been really, really exciting. Just Monday alone, there was an absolute overwhelming amount of calls that came in to Options Pregnancy Center. And then we have Empower. Empower's they've been at it for a while. And they've been grinding for a long, long time. And now they are probably the most prepared for something like this. That team down there, can't say enough about them. Just so psyched about them, so thankful for them. And it's exciting. It's exciting. Got to pray for them, though. Now is a really, really important time to be prayerful for them. That God would just use them and give them wisdom. Listen, they're just like everyone else. They're learning as you are learning what is exactly going on here. And so definitely want to be praying for them. I got to share this. I mean, I thought as I was driving over here tonight, one of the things I wanted to do was maybe read a few Bible verses to try to encourage you or whatever. And I was just reminded of this week's catechism. And, we started doing the catechisms 11 weeks ago or something like that. And, I was just like, wow. When I read the catechism last night, listen to this is our week's catechism. It just lined up perfectly how God has worked this out. Question number 11, what are the decrees of God? The answer, the decrees of God are his eternal purpose according to the counsel of his will, whereby for his own glory he has foreordained whatsoever comes to pass. Yes, you are shouting right now. I mean, that's amazing. That was our catechism this week. Here I've done everything I know in my mind I could possibly do to make sure we had church Sunday. Comes to find out, I have nothing. There's no control in my hands. Nothing's in my hands. But look who has it. Everything has been foreordained by him to come to pass. Our verses this week with that catechism, just listen to these. Ephesians chapter 1. By the way, that's a direct message to the church. Ephesians 1 is. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 11. In him we have obtained an inheritance, having been predestined according to the purpose of him who works all things according to the counsel of his will. Yes, amen. Romans 11:36. For from him and through him and to him are all things, and to him be glory forever. Amen. Daniel chapter 4 verse 35. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, and he does according to his will among the hosts of heaven, among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say to him, what have you done? Isaiah 46:10. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from the ancient times things not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will accomplish my purpose. Psalm 115 verse 3, our God is in the heavens. He does whatever he pleases. Amos 3 verse 6, this is a great one to end on here. Is a trumpet blown in a city, and the people are not afraid? Does disaster come to a city unless the Lord has done it? Listen, what a great catechism this week. Our God is sovereign. There's a common message that you hear on a weekly basis. Doesn't matter who it is that's preaching from the pulpit, and that is the sovereignty of God. And I have told you over and over and over, if there's one thing that you can have confidence in, if there's one thing you can have hope in, and that is that God is sovereign. He rules and He reigns, and we praise Him for that now. I'm going to end with this, just a few things that we need to be praying about, okay? I love Sunday night, our special prayer time, and so I want to share with you some of those things to pray for. Obviously, pray for our nation, pray for our leaders, pray for our local leaders as well as we do our national leaders, our state leaders. You want to be praying for them. Hey, here's something else you need to be praying for when you think about praying for leaders, though. Your employer. I've been, since last Thursday, every morning, at 7:30, we've been meeting as a management staff, where I work, and we've dedicated the first 30 minutes really of our day to keeping our people safe regarding this pandemic that's going on. So be praying for them as well. The healthcare workers, first responders, emergency personnel workers, got to be praying for them. There is a good chance that if this was to come into our area, that some of our people in our own church, they're at risk for that. And so we want to be praying for them because they have a job to do, and they gave their studies, they've dedicated their life to this work. They were made for these moments, but we want to pray for them. Need to pray for the IMB. The International Mission Board right now in many places are completely locked down. And what that means is we have missionaries that if they needed to come home right now, if there was an emergency, a relative about to pass away, a medical emergency with themselves or their family, they're not making it. They're not getting out of there. Most of the places are completely locked down right now. So we want to pray for the International Mission Board. We want to pray for our missionaries. Nearly 4,000 on the field, praying for their families here, as well as they're on the field. And so we want to be praying for them. And finally, and it's not the least, but it's the last, Tanzania. Talked last night to Pastor Aaliyah as well as Pastor Nixon. Some of you may have heard the first confirmed case of the coronavirus did arrive in Tanzania. It looks around Sunday, Monday time frame. And it's very, very concerning to a place like Tanzania. Listen, we know here there's a lot of uncertainty. In Tanzania, something like that could be devastating. They don't, you've heard our stories. They just don't have the access to the technology as well as the medical supplies that we have, and food supply. Really want to be praying for them. Right before I drove over here, I got a message from Pastor Leah. The government has shut down the school. Many of you know there is a school that they have built there on site. Recently built a new building to move the school into, and the government has shut it down for 1 month. And so, to try to encourage Pastor Leah, I sent him a message. I said, they pretty much have done the same thing here. And so just want to be praying for them, that God would use them during this time, that the church would be the church, and that God would be glorified and God would be honored. I'm not excited about the situation that we are in. I don't want to have church without you. And I mean, it almost sounds like some love song or something. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But anyway, I don't want to be in this situation, but I'm also excited about the opportunity for us to serve. And, this is a challenging time to serve. We have to be very smart. We have to be very calculated, and we have to communicate. And so you're going to be getting a letter this week from the church. So it was mailed out today. Some of you may get it tomorrow. Some of you may get it a little bit later in the week, depending on how the mail runs. And it's going to have all the information as to where we are right now on the building, the lockdown that we are in the building, and the plans moving forward over the next couple of weeks with Sunday morning, and we will continue to update in that regards. Please don't hesitate to call me. You feel free to call me anytime. Call your deacon if you'd rather do that. Call Pastor Edwin, Jesse, Heath, whoever it is that you need to know something, and you really you need help, you let us know that. I know we do have some folks that have some medical conditions right now. As I will go to any hospital that, as long as the hospital let me in. I will go to any place that will allow me to come in, and so if there's a need of anything like that, please don't hesitate to call. I love you, and man, I can't wait till we're together again. And so pray, and may the Lord just bless this week and use Lincoln Avenue as well as the Association of Churches here in Newport over the next few days. God bless you all.